righty, folks, welcome back. Happy Wednesday. We're back. I love this. I just absolutely love this. I can say whatever I want. You know, I spent 17 years on cable news, and I was censored the whole way through. Well, not so much at Fox, but certainly after Fox. Oh, it's just so nice to say whatever the hell I want to say. The state of California amazes us every single day, doesn't it? It really seems like members of their leadership, the Democrat Party, are competing to see who can ultimately do the most damage to California with their words and their lack of actions, from Gavin Newsom to Karen Bass to everyone in the clip I'm about to show you. California needs a total and complete overhaul of its politicians. Here's 40 seconds of San Francisco's leaders refusing to comply with Trump's law.
We know that San Francisco is a sanctuary city. We will always be a sanctuary city.
We want to be clear. The sheriff's office does not and will not take part in immigration raids or any federal law enforcement actions directed towards the immigrant community.
Very simple message. If you want a safe city, you must support a sanctuary city. Sanctuary city, the whole point, the whole purpose is to make sure that people feel safe testifying to crimes and reporting crimes. So a safe city is a sanctuary city.
You dumbass. That last guy, are you freaking kidding me? If you want a safe city, it's got to be a sanctuary. The most violent cities in America are sanctuary cities. Chicago, San Francisco, L.A., New York, up until Mayor Eric Adams has seen the light and has become Mayor MAGA Eric Adams. But sanctuary cities house criminals. They house illegals who are committing crimes at higher rates than Americans. You fool, you clown, you nutjob. And by the way, sheriff, good luck getting those federal matching funds for all those uniforms, guns, ammo, and police cars you want to buy, because the feds will shut your ass right the hell down. And the public businesses, they've moved out of San Francisco. People there, residents, are saying it's a shithole. People are crapping in the streets. You nut jobs. San Francisco used to be the shining city on the hill. It used to be a gorgeous city. It's a wasteland. Drug users, homelessness, poop on the streets. It's a disaster now, thanks to your sanctuary city. So good riddance. Again, California, we should build a freaking wall right along the southern border and, you know what, cut it west and keep California with Mexico. We got plenty more to discuss. Let's react. So yesterday brought the return of the integrity back into the White House briefing room. Goodbye, Karine Jean-Pierre. See you later. Caroline Leavitt held her first press conference, White House press conference, in the briefing, and as expected was the total opposite of that nightmare that we've grown accustomed to, KJP. As expected, Caroline Leavitt was handed some very loaded questions, particularly about immigration, and she handled them with ease.
Caroline, on immigration. Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws, and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
It's amazing, right? So well prepared. Caroline Leavitt, first, we were watching it. She was a little nervous at first. You see the breathing heavy. Then she really kind of got into her own zone. She looked amazing. She was terrific. She spread the questions out around the room. It wasn't the AP first like it normally has been for the last 1,000 years and no one gives a crap. It was actually the new media seat that got asked the first two questions. New media got the first two questions. That was just awesome. Caroline Leavitt is going to be a great press secretary. I think she handled herself better than most first-time press secretaries on both sides of the aisle. Sorry, Kayleigh, did great, but I don't know. Caroline looked terrific, sounded terrific, well prepared. Wasn't fluttered by a bunch of bullshit questions from the mainstream media. But immigration, it's still the top talker in America right now. The America-loathing liberals are still crying about deportations. Tom Homan and his team are working 24/7 to restore national security. The efficiency and overall deportation numbers have been almost unthinkable, yet Homan, he's not satisfied yet.
Tom Homan is here. All right. Are you satisfied, Tom Homan, with the pace
of migrant deportations?
No, we got to do more.
Yeah, well, so he's going to step it up. They're almost deporting 1,000 a day. And these are mostly criminals, folks. These are mostly criminals. Trump has said, let's do the criminals first. We'll get to the rest of the folks who've broken the law just by crossing the border. But let's stay on the violent criminals. And we're moving 1,000 a day. Think about that. 1,000 proven criminals per day getting out of this country for good. Moving on, Tampon Tim, remember him? Well, he made a post-campaign media stop with the very despicable Rachel Maddow. These two are a perfect pair. One was the worst vice presidential candidate this country has ever seen, and the other remains one of America's biggest bullshit artists. Tim went on some incomprehensible rant on Rachel's show. I'm still not sure what his point was, but he did take a jab at Elon Musk in the middle of this word salad.
Everybody's fatigued. Trust me, I get it. It was pure hell, and the disappointment and the frustration. And I'm, soul searching. What could we have done to make the case? Because we knew this was coming. We knew that the implications. And they're throwing so much at us that we're fatigued. We spent 3 days, debating, having them trying to debate that President Musk gave a Nazi salute. Of course he did.
Isn't it refreshing to see that Tim Walz still can't find his way around a sentence? I'd like to remind you all that the gesticulating former vice president candidate was no stranger to that same gesture himself. In fact, he often did that same salute that Elon Musk is still getting bashed for. And they all did. We have AOC complaining, crying about Elon Musk touching his heart and pointing out to the world, and they call that a Hitler salute or Sieg Heil, or as Ted Nugent on this show called AOC the dumbest person in Congress because she kept saying Sieg Heil, not Sieg Heil. Anyway, can't make this stuff up. How about Oregon Governor Tina Kotek is just the strange human being that we thought she was, like many of her clueless Democrat peers. She's doubling down on her planned disobedience and claiming that she, too, will not comply with Trump's sweeping immigration and transgender regulations. Here she is basically claiming that she's above the law.
Hi, Oregon. Governor Kotek here. I will not back down from a fight. Whether it's access to reproductive and gender-affirming health care, staying on our path to reach our climate goals, protecting immigrant communities, upholding our civil liberties, and fighting for prosperity for every Oregonian.
This is why Democrats are so royally screwed right now. Every member of that party, except maybe John Fetterman, is stuck in the past. Their green agenda lost them votes. Their unwavering commitment to the medical mutilation of children lost them votes. And of course, their strange obsession with harboring illegals certainly helped lose them the election. Yet here they are under new national leadership, still fighting against American progress with the same BS agendas. And I'll say it again for her. It's going to be the same thing. You're a governor of a state. When you need federal help, something happens, a natural disaster, a tornado, who knows, a hurricane, an earthquake, I don't know. You turn to the feds for help. But if you've disobeyed your federal mandate that Trump set down, look, it's not picking and choosing. If you're clearly disobeying the president's stated laws, your people are going to pay for it when you need it the most. Okay, guys, Goya. We've been talking about them since we started. They've been a sponsor since we started. We love Goya. Goya Foods, by the way, some of the best products you'll ever eat, ever have. Again, this is a Hispanic company, but the largest Hispanic food company in the world. In 2021, Goya launched Goya Cares. It's a global initiative to protect children and educate children on mental health. Goya Cares is providing schools and community centers with a preventative education curriculum and a free assembly that includes the viewing of the Goya Cares film, Press Pause. Press Pause is intended to raise awareness regarding mental health issues, abuse, and bullying among children, teens, and in our communities. Press Pause is an educational film following 15-year-old Sofia Rodriguez as she navigates adolescence, self-doubt, and an abusive relationship amid her parents' turbulent divorce, set within the cultural context of her Hispanic family. The film explores her discomfort with unwanted attention from her uncle and the pressures of maintaining a facade of perfection in high school. It introduces the Press Pause campaign promoting kindness and advocacy, highlighted by Sophia leaving a note saying, "You matter," for a bullied peer. The film encourages open family communication about mental health and culminates in Sophia's transformative realization of her right to seek help through the power of empathy and small acts of kindness. Press Pause displays the importance of being proactive in supporting one's community and underscores the critical importance of self-advocacy. Alrighty, time for today's Truth Bomb. So I'm hearing declarations that Margaret, well, that's the new Karen after this golden moment with the vice president.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country.
So I don't really care, Margaret. So this Democrat Margaret is worried that Margarets all over America won't have enough blueberries in their smoothies once Venezuelan gang members and illegals who rape people are evicted from this country. I kid you not. Listen.
I can't wait.
By labor that shouldn't be here.
I can't wait until American women can't get blueberries for their smoothies.
No, we don't really care, Margaret. Well, that girl's name was Jenna, but that's more Margaret liberal BS right there, threatening America's smoothies. But watch White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, good friend of mine, put that argument to rest, but quick.
Only 1% of alien workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work.
So no, they're not doing farm work unless farm work is the new leftist term for committing crime, because only 1% are the illegal aliens in the farm, in the fields. Meanwhile, the ones we're getting rid of, well, those are the rapists, the sexual predators, even murderers, and they're in this country illegally, which makes them criminals anyway, period. Okay, Margaret? Shh, can you hear it? Can you hear that silence? That's the beautiful sound of silence in the air, and I am loving it. It's over. I hereby declare the climate change hoax, it's over. Trump came in, crushed the climate change hoax. Something magical is happening. Have you noticed it? The deafening silence, the crickets, all of the leftist BS is dying away because the so-called beacons of the climate change gang have gone on to greener pastures, pun intended. President Donald Trump, once again, just as he did in his first term, removed us from the economy-crushing Paris Climate Accords, and we've heard almost nothing. Crickets. So is the climate change bullshit nearing its end now? Let's get into it. President Trump made good on his promise and removed America from the Paris Climate Agreement. That's great. Obama placed us in it. Trump removed us from it. Biden put us back into it, and now Trump once again removed us from that bullshit. But here's the magical point. The green gang snowflakes have all but shut up about it. No sign of our favorite high school dropout, Greta Thunberg. She's too concerned with supporting terrorists. Now, listen carefully.
Fuck Turkey. And fuck Israel.
You heard that, right? Little Greta Thunberg, that little high school dropout that wants to be Ms. Climate, Mother Nature, let's call her, or Daughter Nature, just said, fuck Germany and fuck Israel. That's her words, not mine, folks. Someone tell her that Israel is at the forefront of climate change initiatives, right? But okay, never mind. Don't tell her that. Facts and truth never matter to these clowns. We've been pointing out for years that the very people who drone on about rising sea levels seem to build their mansions right in front of the sea, right, Barack and Michelle Obama? Or how about crying about carbon footprints when you use a massive private jet to fly everywhere around the world? Am I right, John Kerry? Or what about when you fashion an entire documentary filled with lies around climate change with the sole purpose of sucking up to the Hollywood elites enough to get an Oscar for it, Al Gore? So you see, once again, once upon a time, it was all the rage to be obsessed with climate change. It started in the 70s with fears of an ice age that was about to drop on us. Didn't happen. In the 1980s, a decade later, the word of the time was hydrofluorocarbons, greenhouse gases, the ozone layer. Remember, it was with a big hole in the ozone layer is getting bigger. We're going to all burn up from the sun. They had children convinced that acid rain would come down on them and burn them. Good times, those liberals. And then it was global warming. But when we noticed there wasn't much of the global warming, they spoke of. They cleverly changed it to climate change. That sure was convenient for them because they figured out that if it got too hot, you can blame it on climate change. And if it got too cold, you can also blame it on climate change. Kind of genius, right? Snow in January in Buffalo, New York, climate change. A heat wave in Arizona in July, climate change. Snowstorms, hurricanes, floods, wildfires. Didn't matter that it's a normal climate pattern for the area. They claimed climate change. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And when the geriatric in chief got into the White House, he was this close. And for those on radio, I have my two fingers really close to each other. This close to declaring a climate change emergency. And why? Well, because, folks, that gives you special powers if you're president. Call it an emergency. They let you do shit they wouldn't let you do. They let you subvert Congress. They let you spend money that would normally have to be approved by Congress. Congress is the checkbook writer, the check writer of the American people. So you declare an emergency, national emergency for whatever, and you can do it sub-Congress, sub-constitutional, let's call it. But he didn't need to do that. Joe Biden and his comrades, well, they had COVID to play with, so they didn't need to do it in the end. Instead, he declared anytime he was allowed to speak that the biggest threat to our entire existence was climate change, not the open borders, not the threat of World War III he created, not the crime that his policies boosted. No, just little old climate change. That was the biggest threat. But something was happening. Something had definitely shifted. The left doesn't seem to care that much about the climate anymore. I think it's part of a bigger trend we're seeing. The working class no longer gives a damn about what the ivory tower goblins think. Hollywood Richies telling Americans how to vote didn't even move the needle, even though they spent $1.5 billion trying to convince American people to vote for Kamala Harris. Didn't work. Oprah, how much money did you take? Beyonce, how much money did you take? Reverend Al Sharpton taking $5 million to give a softball interview. How'd that work out for you? Clowns. And why? Because these idiots subscribe to the rules for thee and not for me. The laws and rules don't apply to them. They don't have to. They're above the law. They're above the fray. When Chinese lab, remember Wuhan? When the Chinese lab Wuhan made COVID, it also said it would be great to be able to say that now without being tossed off the internet, isn't it? I'm allowed to say the Chinese lab is where COVID started. You know why? Because after 4 years of even saying that would get you banned on some social media platforms. Now the CIA confirms what was once deemed a crazy conspiracy theory. Misinformation will get you thrown off Twitter before Elon had it, or Facebook. Now, the CIA confirms it. It's great, isn't it? So when the Chinese lab made COVID came along, they started off lenient and quickly descended into commands. You must mask up. You must isolate. You must lock down. You must inject the shit we just came up with real fast or else. But they, the Hollywood elites and government, didn't do it themselves. They had their little parties without masks. They put the mask on just for the camera. Nancy Pelosi went to a freaking hair salon without a mask. When they locked down her city, San Francisco, no one was allowed to go to hair salons. You had to wear a mask. You went into that little hair salon, back door, no mask. Had the videotape. Remember that? The point is, eventually, the working class stopped believing in what the ivory tower bullshit artists are doing, and they're peddling because they clearly do not believe it in themselves. They see Gavin Newsom at the French Laundry having an expensive dinner when he had the state, the economy locked down. Schools were closed. Businesses were closed. He goes to the most expensive dinner in America. No mask. Barack Obama threw a party for himself. No masks. They're telling us if we weren't wearing a mask, we weren't social distancing, we're getting thrown out, we're getting canceled. Cops are getting fired. Kamala Harris, look at her. Look at Kamala and Doug shopping with plastic bags. Did they care about the environment with all that plastic? Didn't they bring bags from home to shop with? No, they didn't, because they don't practice what they preach. They don't believe the BS that comes out of their own mouths. It doesn't matter that those paper straws that melt into your drink are actually made of toxic cancer-causing materials. They want you to use them instead of plastic straws or else. Or how about this? They're demanding, well, they were until Trump came, they were demanding we all buy electric vehicles. Electric vehicles. I did this for a living before I did TV. You know where the electricity comes from. 80% of the electricity in America comes from burning coal and oil. Coal and oil produce the electricity you put in a car to make an electric vehicle go. Dumbasses. But you have to pay $60,000 for an electric vehicle because they somehow think that's better for the climate. It's not. All that climate change BS, it's all ever been about is collecting political and economic power in the hands of the few, all in the name of what's supposedly good for us all. That's just another brand of Marxism, obviously. Communism usually dies in countries as soon as the working class realizes that their self-appointed champions don't give a shit about equality. They don't care about the people. It's all about the control. All of the cults in the world die when they realize that those leaders, those cult leaders, don't stand for what they preach. They're just trying to sleep with as many of the women and children as they can. Right, David Koresh? It's pure propaganda. And now, climate change is on the leftist cult's chopping block. If you denied climate change, you were labeled a climate denier who didn't believe in science. It didn't matter that the reputable scientists and climatologists outright denied that climate change is a real thing. When President Trump pulled us out of that ridiculous Paris Climate Agreement in his first term 8 years ago, the world was in an uproar. I mean, snowflakes were literally melting left and right. And I'm talking about snow. I'm talking about people, leftist liberal people, snowflakes melting. At the forefront of all that uproar, big tech. They were uppity. It was a full-scale meltdown. But somehow when President Trump did the very same thing, this time around, we heard nothing, crickets. Not just that, but now we're seeing big tech flock to 47, President Trump. Interesting how that happens, right? But it was almost the exact opposite. Not kidding. It wasn't just that there wasn't an uproar. Minutes after President Trump ordered America's exit from the Paris Agreement the first time, Zuckerberg, who attended the inauguration, as we know, well, he posted this time. That right there is the Zuck and his wife getting ready to attend the inaugural festivities. So Trump pulls us out of the climate accord, and Zuckerberg, who lost his freaking mind the first time, protecting the leftists and the climate change BS, who said anyone who denied that is delivering misinformation and pulled him off Facebook. Well, this time, within hours, he's getting himself ready. There's a picture for those listening on radio of Zuckerberg and his wife getting ready for the inauguration festivities, putting climate change on the back burner, obviously, pun intended, for a good party because everyone loves a good party. The heads of Apple, Microsoft, and Google offered their congratulations to President Trump after his second swearing in and gave millions to his inaugural committee. So again, where is big tech? Where's their outrage over getting out of the Paris Climate Agreement this time? All right, here's another question that maybe better suits my theory. Why are all of these billionaires and titans coming around to the Trump train? What's changed? That's what I was saying about the ivory tower elites having no impact anymore on the buying working class. Doesn't matter anymore if Beyonce tells you to vote for Kamala Harris. No one cares. Doesn't matter anymore if Taylor Swift tells you to vote for Kamala Harris. No one cares except Travis Kelce, and he sucks at football now. What they think and what they say don't matter anymore. Their power has faded. Their influence over us, gone. Guys, actress Nicole Kidman once actually made a video telling us all how delicious bugs are. Bugs to eat. Not kidding. Watch.
I am here to reveal my hidden talent, eating micro livestock, cornworms. They're still alive. Extraordinary. Very moist, chewy. Can't quite describe the flavor, but need a little water. Let's try the second course, shall we? Just a little side note. 2 billion people in the world eat bugs, and I'm one of them.
Really, do you honestly believe Nicole Kidman eats bugs? Bullshit. No freaking way. How much money did Klaus Schwab pay for her to shill for the climate change, let them eat bugs nonsense? Do you think Robert Downey Jr. eats bugs?
This looks like I could make cocoa with this. What is...
Right.
What is that?
Well, That's an insect-based premium protein. It's made from Molitor, which is mealworm larvae.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you. But you see, these self-important hack jobs once thought that what they said mattered. It just doesn't. It just doesn't anymore. You know what matters to Americans? Having money, making money, being safe, and living a happy life. None of that involves paying through the nose for gas and energy bills, and it definitely doesn't involve eating worms. Sorry, nut jobs. Drill, baby, drill. That's what Americans and American businesses want. They want prosperity over drummed up BS. Americans see the truth. The Hollywood elites don't power their mansions with wind energy. They power their mansions with the millions they make off the backs of hardworking Americans going to see their shitty movies or listening to their garbage music. They don't have to worry about their energy bills because our money helps them pay their bills and then some. Joe Biden promised Americans rewards for buying electric cars they can't even charge because he took our money to make EV charging stations that never got made. $1 billion for 3 of them. Billion. So he decided to further kill the American car manufacturing sector in the name of something that was never going to happen. Americans see through it all now. Like I always say here, they're all the same. Different names, but all part of the same globalist organization trying to rule the world. The United Nations, World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, Davos, the International Monetary Fund, the Paris Climate Accords, all attempts to have one set of rules for the whole world to follow. And let me guess, they're going to make the rules. They want us to follow them, unelected by us. No, thank you. Our Constitution protects against that. They want to track everyone, remember, to get vaccinated. They want to track people's carbon footprint. They want one world digital currency. You know why? They can keep track of it and they can pull it. You put gold in your pocket or in the safe, or cash in your pocket or in the safe, they can't track it. Right now, crypto, they can't track it. But they want a global digital currency that they can track and they can pull. You want to not pay your taxes, that's your choice. They'll take it from you anyway, even if it's unfair. President Trump is right to be skeptical of these international institutions and deals, and he said so the first time around, and screams were heard. They were deafening. Now it's the same, and now the silence is becoming deafening. We can see now that the ones that were screaming about our collective doom don't even seem to believe it themselves anymore. Otherwise, they'd still be crying. If these high-powered moguls and corporate executives are so panicked about the so-called climate emergency, then why aren't they living in log cabins, in the forest, lighting campfires, eating what's around them, bugs? Don't they love bugs? The leaves, the blueberries. Where are the blueberries? Go on. Make some tea out of the branches and leaves. Let me know how it tastes. Because all that talk and all that nonsense, everyone knows it. But now, they're not even talking. The Martha's Vineyard snobs love talking about letting in illegals until they're heaped onto their own beaches and property. Oh, the joy they felt once those illegals were removed from their perfect little Martha's Vineyard world. You see how it works? If these climate gang idiots really believe what they predict, they would favor an instant transition to zero emissions nuclear power, but they mostly don't. And yet every September, they gather at the UN General Assembly and clog the streets of Manhattan for a week of their privately chartered oversized SUVs. Even Lib Bill Maher has blasted celebrities who cry about carbon footprint and yet zip around the world in private jets and private yachts, and they're big. And this is going to hit hard. It shouldn't matter why California is being hit by wildfires. It doesn't matter if it's arson, climate change, or a combination of things. The fact is, you know they're coming and you still weren't ready. So your insistence that climate change is an immediate threat to civilization doesn't really matter if you're not prepared at all whatsoever to deal with the consequences of it. LA Mayor, national disgrace Karen Bass, cut the budget to the fire department, fail. LA Governor and national disgrace, California governor, who plans to run for president someday, Gavin Newsom, cut water to his own state, firing firefighters who wouldn't get the jab. Really? So, if you know these people and these things happen due to climate change, shouldn't you be ready? Doesn't matter how it starts. Shouldn't you just be ready if you think it's coming anyway? Or maybe you just never believed it in the first place. You should really take a look inward, you guys, you Democrat losers. And I'm not talking about up your own butts, which is somewhere we seem to live. President Trump addressed the crowd in Switzerland last week at the World Economic Forum. He talked about how he would unleash America's liquid gold and build new fossil fuel power plants to run data centers, among things and other things. And then he took questions from a panel of corporate heavyweights. Not a single one of them, not one of them asked President Trump about climate change. No one asked him about pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement. They did, however, ask about tariffs, taxes, money. That's all they freaking care about. That's all they care about. They're so worried about tariffs now, they forgot climate change was going to be an existential threat, right? On to the next crisis, I guess. Hey, Fauci, got any extra of that bird flu laying around? All right, folks, Super Bowl. It's about a week and a half away. The annual tradition of questioning the logo is back in full effect. If you're not familiar with the Super Bowl logo theory, it basically suggests that the NFL knows who's going to be in the big game each year early. Actually rigs the playoffs to make sure the two selected teams get there. So here's this year's logo, which came out last year, and we're showing folks, notice anything? It's red and green, the primary colors of the Chiefs and Eagles. And I don't know if we have it. We probably don't even. This just came out. Next year's Super Bowl 60. Guess what the colors are? Powder blue and navy blue. I don't know. Bills and Lions? Powder blue and navy blue. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put $100 on both of those teams to win the Super Bowl now because the odds are amazing. Have a good night, everyone. See you tomorrow.